In a world driven by social media and constant connection, it's hard to avoid the impact of comparison in our lives. We find ourselves constantly comparing our achievements, appearances, and lifestyle to those of others. And it's taking a toll on our mental well-being. But what exactly is the impact of comparison and how can we overcome its negative effects? The world we live in, it constantly encourages us to compare ourselves to others. We often lose sight of our true worth and purpose. But when we invite God's presence in our life, a transformative journey begins. The Bible provides timeless wisdom on the power of God's presence and how it can transform our perspective on comparison. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Psalm chapter 139, verse 14. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled amidst rolling hills, lived two brothers named Samuel and Joseph. They were hard-working farmers who tended their lands with great care and dedication. However, Samuel always found himself trapped in the comparison game, constantly comparing his achievements to those of his brother Joseph. Samuel was blessed with a beautiful harvest every year, but he could never appreciate it fully because he was too busy comparing his yield to Joseph's. Joseph's field seemed to produce more abundant crops, and his livestock flourished, causing envy to consume Samuel's heart. One day, the brothers decided to make a pilgrimage to the nearby city to offer their thanksgiving to God. They brought the best of their harvest as an offering, seeking God's favor and blessing. As they approached the grand temple, Samuel couldn't help but notice the extravagant offerings of the wealthy merchants. He began to feel inadequate, comparing his humble offering to theirs. Inside the temple, they stood in line, waiting for their turn to present their gifts. Samuel's heart was heavy with self-doubt and envy, overshadowing the joy of being in God's presence. Suddenly, a divine voice echoed through the hall, capturing the attention of everyone present. My children, do not be deceived by the appearances or measure your worth by the offerings you bring. I do not look at the size of your gifts, but at the sincerity of your hearts. As the voice of God resounded, a beam of light illuminated Samuel and Joseph, enveloping them in a warm embrace. In that moment, Samuel felt a deep sense of peace and realized the folly of his comparisons. He understood that God's presence transcended material possessions and earthly achievements. From that day forward, Samuel learned to appreciate the unique blessing bestowed upon him. He recognized that God had given him a fertile land, a loving family, and a generous heart. Samuel no longer felt the need to compare himself to his brother or anyone else. He focused on his relationship with God, seeking His guidance and walking in His ways. As time passed, Samuel's contentment and gratitude radiated from him. He shared his wisdom and encouraged others in the village to embrace their own blessings rather than falling into the comparison trap. His transformation inspired those around him to value God's presence above worldly standards. The story of Samuel and Joseph reminds us that God's presence is the ultimate source of fulfillment and joy. The urge to compare ourselves is deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. As social beings, we have a natural tendency to evaluate ourselves in relation to others. However, in today's hyper-connected world, this inclination has intensified, leading to a range of psychological effects. Comparison serves several functions in our lives. Firstly, it helps us evaluate our abilities, achievements, and social standings. It can be a source of motivation and inspiration. However, when taken to extremes, comparison can lead to feeling of inferiority, jealousy, and self-doubt. Several factors influence the psychological effects of comparison. Firstly, social media plays a significant role. It presents a curated version of people's life, leading to an unrealistic comparison and feelings of inadequacy. Additionally, our own self-esteem, personal goal, and the presence of social support system can affect how we interpret and react to comparisons. When we shift our focus from comparing ourselves to others, instead embrace our unique gifts and blessings, we find freedom and peace. God's love and acceptance are not based upon our worldly achievements, but on our sincere hearts and our willingness to seek His presence above everything else. Instead of comparing ourselves to others, we should focus on embracing our own uniqueness and appreciating the qualities that make us who we are. Remember that God has a specific plan and purpose for your life that is different from anyone else's. When we constantly seek validation and approval from others, we can easily become trapped in the cycle of comparison. Instead, shift your focus towards seeking God's approval. Remember that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in His image, and His opinion of you is what truly matters. Find comfort in knowing that you are loved and accepted by the Creator of the universe. Cultivate an attitude of gratitude that can help combat the comparison trap. Instead of dwelling on what others have or have achieved, focus on the blessings in your own life. Take time to count your blessings and express gratitude to God for His provisions. Contentment comes when we recognize and appreciate what we already have, rather than constantly desiring what other possesses. Instead of feeling envious and threatened by others' success, choose to celebrate with them. Rejoicing in the achievements of others demonstrates a heart of love and support. Remember that everyone's journey is different, and their success do not diminish your worth and potential. Overcoming the comparison trap requires a renewal of mind. Regularly immerse yourself in God's Word, seeking His truth and wisdom. Replace negative and comparison-driven thoughts with positive and affirming one. God's love and guidance are unique to each individual. By embracing your blessings, focusing on your relationship with God, practicing gratitude and contentment, trusting His plan, celebrating others, seeking His perspective, releasing the need of approval, and renewing your mind with His words, you can navigate the comparison trap and live in the fullness of His love and guidance.